So Ross, I mean, you knew the numbers weren't going to be great. Was this really disappointing what we saw today, or did you get some encouragement?
I didn't get as much encouragement as your other guests, but it was certainly in line with what we expected, with automotive revenues down 20%. Really, energy storage is the really important positive moment for the company, because boy, did that save their earnings. So they've got some things working for them in the energy storage business, but the car business seems to have plateaued and is on its way down now. And so this is a troubling report. You know, all the metrics are down, and I think the bigger question is, what will they do to reverse that? Because it's not about launching new models. It's not about anything other than improving the optics around the company, because people don't want the products because of the behavior of Elon Musk. And so until you can convince people to want Teslas, I don't see where it goes from here.
Well, I mean, I do want to talk a little bit more about that, but just to your point about the energy storage side, I mean, and I know it's still a relatively small part of the business. Do you see long-term possibilities for that to become a bigger part of the business, a bigger contributor to profitability?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, it's the only part of the business that consumers don't have to purchase. It's purchased by utilities. So you're not going to have the same political, negativity surrounding utilities purchases, which it's really beneficial for, especially for clean energy utilities, to purchase battery systems from Tesla. We love this part of the business. We have no complaints about the core business of selling EVs with full self-driving, energy storage and charging. And that's the business Tesla should be focused on, because I think what they're going to learn about cybercabs is it's a crappy business to be in, highly competitive, very difficult, and they've got to get their software and hardware to work, which they still haven't done. So in hindsight, they might really miss just selling EVs to people, and that's still a growing market.
Yeah, and I was just taking a look at some of those numbers on the energy side. Definitely, like I said, one of the strongest, not only just in terms of revenue, but obviously an expansion in margins, while margins elsewhere seem to be contracting. All right, so
exactly.
So when we get to this conference call in, I think, about an hour and 15 minutes time, 5:30 p.m. East Coast time, what do you think that Musk, and for that matter, if he lets the other folks speak, what they can articulate about a long-term vision for this company? Because as you know, Ross, the long-term vision for this company has, for one reason or another, been really just thrown off kilter. Maybe it's because Musk is involved in some other things that we've heard about, or maybe it is just, there's just more competition right now for EVs.
There is more competition, but Tesla is still much better. And what all of us in the investment community was thinking, let's say 2-3 years ago, was Tesla was on track to building 20 million cars a year. That was the sort of the plan. Let's get to 10 million. Let's get to 20 million vehicles a year. It was about solving climate and selling EVs and battery storage. Now it's an AI robotics story. And Elon's going to work very hard in the conference call to get you not to pay attention to EVs, that EVs aren't the story anymore. And it's all about robotics and self-driving cars. And so really what he wants you to think about is this future that he sees, where we're all going to just have like self-driving cars drive us around and robots doing all of our work. And what I challenge, listeners or viewers to ask themselves is, how long do you think it'll be until that vision actually exists? Because I think that's how long it's going to be before Tesla makes money again. Because at this current rate, they're basically a little above break even. And, quite frankly, with revenues continuing to go down in automotive, I just don't see where this goes. So how long will it be till you have a robot in your house and everybody's using self-driving cars? And I think it's going to be some time, and that's the problem.
Well, there's also a credibility question, and I'll be a little sensitive in asking this question, but you're talking about a man who controls these companies, who, as you know, has been derided for a lot of political reasons, a lot of them self-inflicted by his own comments and behavior. If people don't trust him enough right now to continue buying cars, buying Teslas at the rate that he had gotten used to, why should we believe that there would be any sort of widespread adoption of some of his other products, like in the robotics and energy space?
Right. And I think that's a great way to look at it. It's like, how many lies or false promises or whatever you want to call it, Elon can make over the years before you get to a point of total skepticism. I tend to look at both sides, being an optimist by nature, being a long-term Tesla shareholder who's benefited greatly from the success of Tesla. I want to believe in this future, but when I get in my Cybertruck and I turn on full self-driving, it doesn't drive me very far before I have to intervene. And it kind of drives like crap, to be honest. And now there's Waymos everywhere in my neighborhood, and the Waymos drive way better than full self-driving. I'm sorry, Elon, your software sucks compared to Waymo. So when you want to like wake up and smell the coffee, that would be great, because I think the vision is possible, the vision he's articulating. I just don't think Tesla's on track on doing that anytime soon. So that's really the issue, is if Elon wants to get off his butt and go work at Tesla and start building this software, that would be the best thing that could happen to Tesla. And that's what I expect him to say in the conference call, that he's ending his Doge time any day, and he'll be back to fixing all the problems soon. And that's the only thing that'll get the stock going. And he knows that. So that's what he's probably going to say in the conference call.
Well, and a lot of investors have been sort of hoping for that. I am curious just about your own stake in the company. You obviously were a very early adopter, both as a user and as an investor in Tesla. And I know you've had some reservations over the last few months for a variety of reasons. Ross, do you think there is a plausible scenario where you would materially increase your investment in Tesla?
Yeah, once again, I still think Tesla makes the best products. So the scenario would be where I can't imagine a scenario where Elon stops saying divisive things, so I'm not even going to bring that up. But maybe they get a new CEO and Elon becomes chief product officer, and somebody who can visibly take over the sort of reins of the image of the company and move it away from Elon and move it back to Tesla. They would need to do a massive marketing campaign to try to rebuild brand value and recognition. They would have to really make an amends to many of the consumers and refocus itself as an environmentally friendly and climate friendly company, because that's what motivated the huge legions of Tesla buyers to refer their friends and family, was the fact that we were solving climate change, which is a much more important goal than any of Elon's goals, including robotics. In fact, there's really no reason to worry about robotics when climate change is on verge of wiping out human existence in the next 30 to 50 years. So we really should be focusing on what Tesla does best, which is solve climate. We can certainly work on robotics and cybercabs. I'm not against that. But Tesla's success will always be about being a climate-focused company. And I think that's what they need to do to rebuild their brand and potentially be a great investment again.
So final question here, and this is also about Musk personally. There was a lot of people that when he helped Trump get elected, when he clearly had a seat at the table in the White House, there was this idea that this was obviously going to benefit not just him personally, but was going to benefit Tesla and, for that matter, his other companies as well. Do you think that relationship, whatever that relationship is with the president, will have a net positive impact on his businesses?
No, I don't, and I never thought it would. And if you look at Trump's history with all the other people he's been associated with and the impact it's had on their businesses, there's a long history of bankruptcies around Trump. Trump has never actually made anybody successful or any company successful. And so when you look at the track record of Elon Musk versus Donald Trump, it's like laughable. And that's why, Trump likes Elon, because Elon's like 100 times smarter than him. But I think the reality for Elon is that the Trump people don't want him anymore, because he just causes problems for everybody. And so, it's just a matter of time till Elon goes back to being Elon. And I don't know what that is, but I still think it'll be divisive. And I don't think it helps Tesla at all. And I don't think Trump cares about Tesla and wants to help Tesla at all either. And that's kind of why I'm upset about the whole thing.